Hey guys, it's the Disco Spider, and growing up as a kid, I did watch a lot of VeggieTales. Now, I don't think VeggieTales are that great. They can get too preachy sometimes, and its kid humor can get a little annoying. But I still do get pretty nostalgic for the show sometimes, especially the episodes from the 90s. But recently, VeggieTales has come back as a DreamWorks Netflix original show, but I've only seen one episode of that show, and yeah, it is pretty bad. But back when Big Ideas had control of VeggieTales, they released two movies based on the franchise. Jonah, which did make back some money, but not enough to really call it a hit. And this movie, which even if this movie costed $15 million to make, it sadly didn't make enough to break even, making it a box office bomb. But is this spiritual successor, or a prequel, which some could argue, an underrated classic, or is it as bad as eating, say, cauliflower? The movie is about three busboys who want to be more than just what they are. After failing an audition at the Pirate Times Dinner Theater, the place that they work, they stumble upon this mysterious ball that transports them in the sea thousands of years back to save the fair princess of the king and to save the prince from their evil uncle. One surprising thing in this movie that most people wouldn't believe coming from a VeggieTales movie is that there isn't any mention of God or the Bible. There might have been one line that I didn't catch, but the main themes of this movie isn't about God, which coming from the first VeggieTales movie where God was heavily mentioned, which made the movie pretty preachy, it is a nice breath of fresh air to get a non-preachy VeggieTales movie. But does that save the plot? Haha, nope. The plot is an adventure movie, but what makes the adventure boring is that there are no stakes. I didn't feel anything in this movie. Although I will admit the environment and atmosphere are interesting, and I'm glad that we did get to do some exploring in this land, the tone sadly ruins any fun this movie could have had, by being overly silly that you just can't take it seriously. Yes, you could have a suspenseful and fun adventure movie by still having jokes, but this movie is marketed towards kids too well that anyone older would have a hard time enjoying this film. At least the first film had some suspense, like that one scene in the storm before Jonah was swallowed by the whale was pretty intense with the beautiful and suspenseful music and drastic environments. But in this film, there was no scenes like that. Everything was light and fluffy that I just got bored watching it. Another problem with the story is that the places they went to didn't seem to have any connection to the plot. It seems like they randomly went to places for the fun of it. They go to this cave with living Cheetos, then this island of rock monsters, but there was no purpose for it. It just felt like boring filler. Maybe if each place told them where to go next, or if they had to find some pieces that could help save the prince or summon the king. And also there seems to not be much distance from each place they went to. Like the cave, rock monster island, and the villain's lair seem to be very close to one another, which raises the question of, why didn't they just go to the lair and skip the other destinations? As cool as they are, and I did like exploring the land surrounding the characters, it still served very little to the plot. Then we have the characters. Each of these characters are bland and boring. The three main characters only have one personality, which is Elliot being the scaredy one, Cedric being the lazy one, and George being the wimpy one. Besides their character designs, that's the only way you could identify each character. They're nothing characters, only given one sort of problem so they can get over it at the very end. Even the character development on the characters felt very predictable and kinda lazy. These characters do not hold a movie very well, and were much better as side characters, even if they weren't the best in the Jonah movie. Then we have the other characters. What's to say about them? They're all here for plot purposes, and that's it. None of them have any personality, especially the prince, being in this film only to be the person in distress, which is pretty cool that it's a guy and not a girl this time, even though the princess does become one too at the end of the movie. But But the most disappointing character, though, was the villain Robert. He felt like the stereotypical bad guy, even following the cliches of wanting to be the king instead of his no-good brother. And he wasn't even menacing, which also contributes to the film lacking any sort of tension. I just wish we could have seen a backstory of the character, showing us who he is and how threatening he is, maybe even putting it in a musical number. And speaking of music, the hands-down best part of the first VeggieTales movie, Jonah, was the music. Even if it was preachy, it was very catchy and had good rhythm. And although there isn't much songs in this movie, the little we had were very disappointing. None of them were as close as being as good as the previous songs. They were either very forgettable or straight up cringy, especially the song they played while the pirates did nothing in the second act. The one thing I was hoping to get from this movie, even if it sucked, was catchy music, but sadly they did not deliver. Then we have the animation. This movie was really cheap, so obviously it's not gonna look good. And although it doesn't, for $15 million, it looks better than it should have. The places the characters go do look nice, even if looking cheap. The character designs, while being limited and not having that much texture, does look tolerable with their simple designs, and may not look like your Pixar film, but at a budget less than Norm of the North and Sausage Party, were you really expecting good animation? And the last thing I want to talk about is the first thing that I mentioned in this review, which is the lacking of God aspect. It may seem like I was talking about it like it's a good thing, but actually it was a very bad thing. Yes, for non-Christians and people that don't like overly preachy religious movies can watch this movie and not be Bible sick, but what about the fans? Most of the people who watch VeggieTales are Christians and want some fun Bible stories to show their kids by being a Bible lesson disguised as a 90-minute animated feature. But without that aspect, who was this movie for? The non-Christians aren't gonna watch this film thinking it'll be like the first film and be very preachy, and the Christians probably won't care much for this film since it has nothing to do with the Bible. So really this movie isn't made for anyone, and honestly I believe this is the reason why this became a box office bomb. So, all in all, The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything is a boring kids movie, by having such a silly tone to the point where nothing can be taken seriously, which makes the film have a lack of tension and excitement, bland and boring characters, bad songs, animation that is tolerable at best, and being a film for nobody. Like I said, this movie is for nobody, so don't watch it. If you really want a 90-minute VeggieTales movie, then go watch Jonah. Sure, it may not be that good of a movie, but it's enjoyable to say the least. But what are your thoughts on The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything and or VeggieTales? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I respond to any comments I get, for the most part. And please like and share to help support this lame-o right here. And subscribe to see more cartoon-related reviews. I got a Johnny Test review and a Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs TV series coming real soon, so you don't want to miss those. But anyways, I'm the Disco Spider, and peace out.